We start tonight with one of the most elaborate of crimes. It must have involved months of research and setting up, but it was over in about 3 minutes. The crooks are clearly dangerous, but they've profited to the tune of £500,000. We can show you exactly how it was done because steps have now been taken to stop it happening again. Now watch closely. If you can help solve this one, you could make yourself a fortune. There's a reward of almost £50,000. The story begins in Chelmsford in Essex.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to our combined plant and commercial auction here on October the 1st.
The story begins on the first day of last month in Essex, at one of the busiest car and lorry auctions in the south of England. It was here that someone made what should have been a discreet transaction, but it didn't go unnoticed.
7.9 bid at 7. 7.25 against 7.50. 7.75 at 7.75 for the first. Second, third at 7.75. Can you sign with the young lady, please?
The man who bought that yellow lorry stood out at the auction. He had black, greased-back hair, he spoke with a West Midlands accent, and he wore a tie. Somehow he seemed too smartly dressed for the occasion. He was probably with two other men. The lorry they'd bought had nearly 200 miles to cover before it reached its final destination. It's 8:30 a.m. the next day, Tuesday, October the 2nd, and two men joined this blue Bedford van filling up at a petrol station at Market Drayton in Shropshire. One of the men was particularly distinctive, heavily built, 5 foot 10 inches tall, with long, dark hair and a striking Mexican-style moustache. One witness also remembers the driver of the blue van. He was stockily built, in his late 30s, and he had light brown hair which looked as though it was receding at the sides. He also wore a gold ring on his right hand.
Thanks a lot, love.
The blue van had been stolen from Leeds in June. Just after 10 a.m. that same day, on an industrial estate in Telford, a van driver noticed a stranger in the lorry park. He was picking up this distinctive purple and white tipper truck. It had been parked there for a week. This lorry had been bought 12 days earlier at another auction in Measham in Leicestershire. It had an appointment to keep in just over 2 hours' time, and it set off into the heart of Shropshire along the A442 Whitchurch Road. It's later that same day, Tuesday, October the 2nd. It was lunchtime when this Group 4 armoured security van left the Shropshire town of Wem, travelling east to make another delivery. The journey took it over Western Crossroads on the A49. That's the main trunk road from Shrewsbury to Warrington. And that was where it passed a distinctive purple and white lorry.
What's he up to? He ain't gonna stop.
Get him back! Get him back!
There's another one behind us.
Out! Quick, now, come on, out, out! Okay! Right in front, go on! Lie down, lie down! Straight your legs! Lie down!
One more!
Come on, come on, come on! Go on, pass with that cat!
Don't shoot! Okay, don't shoot!
Right.
Go on! Hurry up! Okay! Don't shoot!
Come on! There's no more! No more, that's it! Go!
In those few terrifying minutes, they disappeared with £454,000 in virtually untraceable banknotes. Now, just to recap, the yellow lorry came from Chelmsford and was driven 200 miles to the ambush point near the A49. That's not far from the Shropshire market town of Wem. The next day, Tuesday, October the 2nd, the gang closed in. At Market Drayton, the blue getaway van was seen filling up. And at Telford, the distinctive purple lorry was driven away. At 12:15 that day, the Group 4 van set off from Wem, crossed the A49, and this is where it finished up. Detective Superintendent Barry Main, let me make the point first of all. We obviously consulted you and Group 4 in some detail before showing that this sort of crime would now be hard to replicate.
Certain steps have been taken to avoid a recurrence, yes.
Right, now, the lorries are obviously the best clues you have to go on. What information do you need?
Well, the yellow lorry, we believe, was driven up from the auction in Chelmsford into Shropshire on the 1st of October. It had a mechanical fault. It was losing oil and water, so it was necessary to stop fairly frequently.
So it was dropping oil and would have called in at stations?
Yes,
petrol
somebody
stations,
must
probably.
have seen that vehicle.
OK, fine. And the blue getaway van, that had been stolen in Leeds?
That was stolen in Leeds on the 26th of June, and it must have been stored between that time and the 2nd of October. So where was it?
Right. Now, what about the men? We've got some not bad descriptions. We've got the man who was at Chelmsford in the auction. Now, we've got a fairly good description. That's the video fit you've got of him there.
Yes, now he's described as in his 30s. He's 5'6", he's clean-shaven, and as you see, his hair is greased and combed back.
Now, we've done a video fit here. He was described as having a sallow complexion. What was meant by that?
Witnesses describe him as looking ill.
As ill, right.
Yes.
Now, that slicked back hair, obviously, if you were going to disguise yourself, maybe one of the first things you do is cream back your hair.
Well, I'd have difficulty doing that, but yes, it's possibly a disguise.
OK. Now, the other guy, he was with this extraordinary moustache. Again, that presumably could have been a false moustache.
That's possible, yes.
Again, with the video fit, we can take that off. This guy's stockily built, and that's the best description we've got of him. That's what he'd look like without the moustache.
Yes.
The reward, it's enormous.
Yes, it is, up to £45,000 for any information concerning the robbery.
Tax-free, I presume?
I presume so, yes.
Now, if people are frightened about ringing in, can they ring anonymously? Can they ring in confidence?
Yes, we'd like to hear from anyone who has information. Of course, if they want the reward, then we will require some detail.
Obviously, you're going to have an address and a name for them if they want to get something of the reward. The number to call if you can help, here it is, 01811 8055. If you prefer, you can call the incident room at Wem Police Station. That's Wem 34100, 0939 34100. We start this month with an armed robbery. Lothian and Borders Police, who asked for our help, say it was a miracle that no one was hurt in the affair. The reconstruction you're about to see is as accurate as possible, given eyewitness accounts. The robbers you see are, of course, actors, but they resemble eyewitness descriptions. Remember, people's memories aren't infallible, and no doubt it will emerge that some of the details turn out to be different. If you can give more information, or if you saw anything to do with the robbery, please do call us. It happened 3 months ago in Edinburgh. The date is Friday, the 1st of March. The people of Edinburgh are to witness an extraordinary chase through the main streets of the city. This is Waterloo Place in the centre of Edinburgh. At 4:30 p.m, this blue Ford Cortina with 3 men inside stopped opposite the Edinburgh housing offices. The car had been stolen from Glasgow the day before. One man stayed outside and one went inside as though he was a council tenant here to pay his rent. But instead of going to the counter, he sat with cleaners who were waiting for the offices to close. Several minutes later, a Securicor van arrived to collect the day's takings from the cashiers, leaving a guard to keep watch in the back of the van.
Normally, the guards would have collected the money and come straight out. But today, the cashiers weren't ready, and there was a 15-minute wait. This long delay enabled witnesses in the building to give a very full description of one of the robbers. He seemed about 30 years old, 6 feet tall, well built with black, straggly, unwashed hair and a scruffy moustache. He had a pale complexion. It's now 4:45 p.m. It seems that by looking through the window into the cashier's office, the accomplice outside was able to give a signal that the guards were about to emerge.
Get down! Get down!
Attack, 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 394, Housing Department, Waterloo Place.
Get down! Hold up! Get down!
At the front!
Come on, get a foot down! Come on! Run this side, they'll not expect you to go down. Come on, get a foot down! Go as fast as I can, shut up! Up here, turn right, up the hill! Right again! Right here! Aye! Bastard, still behind us! Jump the lights, ignore them! Come on! Jesus Christ! Right behind us! Come on, hurry up, will you?
The second impact caused the van to swerve and hit a parked car. As the Cortina sped down the Royal Mile, the robbers found they were on their own. For the moment, they'd got away.
Turn right!
At the bottom of the Royal Mile, they swerved right into the car park of Scottish and Newcastle breweries. The van had lost them from its sight and drove straight past.
This way!
Over a dozen witnesses saw the men running through the car park. Several said that one was now wearing a bright red sweater. The Securicor van had lost them, and with a burst radiator, it had to give up the chase.
Inspector Tom Snedden is the detective now hunting for the robbers. How can the public help?
Well, I would ask anyone who witnessed the robbery or the subsequent chase through the streets of Edinburgh to contact us if we've not already interviewed them.
Now, as we said, we've got a very good description of at least one of the robbers. Just tell us again what we know about him.
I think it's important to emphasise the point that the men are actors. The description of the gunman, he's about 6 feet, approximately 30 years of age. He's well built, he was unshaven, he's got a moustache, he's got black straggly hair, which is unwashed, falling over his forehead. We know for a fact that he was wearing a blue parka jacket with a hood which is trimmed with fur.
Right, and the second man?
The second man and the third man, they're both rather patchy, the descriptions. The second man's approximately 25 to 30 years. He's 5'7", he's well built, he's unshaven, he's possibly got a beard. He was wearing a ski cap, either brown or green, and a green jacket. The driver, who's the third man, he, in fact, has got short hair, he's about 27. He's clean-shaven, but we do have witnesses speaking to the fact that he's possibly got a bad complexion, pockmarked or spotted face.
Now, you mentioned things that they were wearing. On the other hand, when we saw them in the last shot as they were escaping from the car park, one of them, it seemed, was wearing a bright red pullover as they ran off into Holyrood Road.
That's correct. We believe that, in fact, they've changed clothes in the car. You would also notice that they were only carrying one bag, because there was 4 bags stolen, and we believe they've put them into one hold all.
Right. Now, presumably you lost sight of them after the car park, so you want anybody who might have seen suspicious people running away beyond that point?
That is correct. Anyone in a red, wearing a red jersey or carrying a hold all in the area of Holyrood Road
Right.
come forward.
Now, I mentioned that the car had been stolen from Glasgow the day before, which was, if I remember correctly, February the 28th. It was stolen in Glasgow, the registration number, I've got it here, SSF 701V.
Yes.
Now, you need to know more about that car, presumably, where it was in the intervening 24 hours.
The car was stolen from Langside College Car Park, which is near Battlefield Road in Glasgow. It was stolen approximately between 7:30 p.m. and 9 p.m, and we would appeal to anyone who saw the car between these times and the time of the robbery to come forward.
Right, so it's the car you need to trace in that intervening 24 hours, though you've obviously got it back now.
Yes.
You need to find any of the 3 men responsible. You want to see anybody who saw the chase, whether or not they feel they've anything important to tell you.
That is correct, because these men could be from any part of the country and not necessarily from Edinburgh. And I would appeal to anybody who, in fact, either knows the men from the descriptions or think they know them, to contact myself or the numbers given, and they can speak to us in confidence.
All right, Inspector Snedden, thank you. The number to ring, if you can help, is 01811 8055. Or you can call Lothian and Borders Police directly on Edinburgh 311 3131. That's 031, the code for Edinburgh, 311 3131.
Our last case is an armed robbery which happened just under a month ago. At least 4 men, 2 of them armed, attacked a Securicor van in St Albans. They escaped with well over £100,000 in cash. For security reasons, we can't show some of the fine details of the robbery, but as you'll see, there are many ways in which you might be able to help. The date was Saturday the 15th of June. That was the morning the papers had their first reports of the TWA hijack, which had started the day before. Although the robbery took place in Hertfordshire, our reconstruction starts in London. Just around the corner from the busy junction at Bounds Green tube station, sometime between 10 p.m. on Thursday the 2nd of May and 2:15 the following afternoon, a red Ford Cortina was stolen from its parking place in Oak Lane. Five weeks later, opposite Wembley Conference Centre in West London, a blue Ford Granada was stolen. Both the Cortina and the Granada had an appointment to keep 2 days later in St Albans. On the morning of Saturday the 15th of June, the day of the robbery, the manager of the Co-op Dairy in Burley Road arrived as usual at around 8 o'clock. At about 10 to 5 that afternoon, a witness remembers seeing a red Cortina pull up at the back of the dairy in Oakdean Way. The driver hurried across the road to a blue Granada. Half an hour later, a witness remembers seeing 2 men walking past Alban Court towards the dairy next door. They were wearing green overalls, so he assumed them to be milkmen. He described the one sitting on the wall as being about 5'10" to 6 foot tall and thick set. It looked as though he was wearing a dark brown wig or toupee. Another witness also saw the two men as she was waiting for a taxi. She had a good look at the other man. He was about 5'8" tall, with dark brown greying hair under his woolen ski hat, and she noticed in particular that he was wearing rubber gloves. As her taxi pulled away, she glanced at the blue Granada that had been parked there for some time. The driver was in his late 30s or early 40s, was slightly balding and had a moustache. It was just after 5:30 that afternoon when a Securicor van drove up Burley Road towards the dairy. The driver only vaguely noticed a milkman apparently washing the manager's car as he pulled up to make his regular collection of the takings.
Get your hands up. Switch it all!
Right,
Hurry up.
shut up!
Get them
Hurry
hands.
up! Come on! I think we're being done.
Christ, the phone's dead.
That's a lot.
Come on, do the tyres.
Stay there!
Chief Inspector Mick Howley is the man looking for the getaway. Now, they must have been seen. That was a noisy getaway. Where did they go?
Well, they turned right out of Burley Road into Castle Road, right into Ashley Road, across the Hill End Hospital roundabout, into Drake's Drive, and then left into Selvarns Lane.
Were they seen on that route, as far as you know?
Yes, they abandoned the blue Granada on the car park of the squash club. The vehicle was seen to contain two men. It was followed at that time by a white, family-sized hatchback, which we believe may be connected.
Now, we know the numbers of those cars, and you've actually got number plates from them.
Yes, both the vehicles. The red Cortina bore the false index plate VSE 115X. The blue Granada A724 SJD. Now, most reputable companies that make up these plates keep records. So obviously we're appealing to anybody who may have remembered making up these plates.
Right. Now, the men involved, you've got a very good description of at least one of them.
Yes, the second man, the video fit, is described as mid-40s, a long, chubby face, dark hair, approximately 15 stone, believed to be wearing a wig.
So his hair might not actually be dark.
That is correct.
Right, and you've got a good description, not quite so good, but a good description of a second man.
Yes, the second man, slightly smaller.
This is the one with the pistol.
Probably 5'8". He was wearing a balaclava. He's slightly slimmer in build, ruddy complexion.
Right. You recovered some of the bags in which the money was stolen. Tell me about that.
Yes. 2 days later, on the Monday, this cricket bag was found in the River Lee between Tottenham and Lee Bridge. We'd obviously like to hear from anybody who saw anybody disposing of a bag such as this into the River Lee, either from a bridge or the riverbank, because they may well be connected.
Right. What are these rather... that's a rather vicious-looking thing. What's the point of that?
This very, very heavy chain and this container here, which contained ammonia, were in the bucket. And obviously this ruthless gang would have used these weapons together with the firearms if things had not gone according to plan.
They're prepared to squirt ammonia in someone's face?
I have no doubt about that at all.
So they're obviously men who are quite prepared to use violence.
Very ruthless.
There is, I'm told, a reward.
There is a very substantial reward. on offer for information leading to the arrest and prosecution of these men. We hope that persons, close associates perhaps, of these suspects may come forward being attracted by the reward.
OK, Inspector Howley, thank you very much. Please do call us if you know anything. The number to ring, if you can help, is 01811 8055, or you can call Hertfordshire Police at Welwyn Garden City. The number there, Welwyn Garden City 331 011. That's 0707 331 011. The first of this month's reconstructions features an armed robbery. There are at least 3 gunmen, and finesse is not their hallmark. They're prepared to shoot almost indiscriminately and at point-blank range. The story starts with the theft of this car from a garage in Tunbridge Wells. Within the next few days, it had turned up in south-east London.
July the 1st, Brayards Road in Peckham, and this blue Rover had become a local nuisance. It's been parked here for 5 days, and a resident reports it to the police.
Yes, A111 NKN. Someone will move it, will they? OK.
And later that same day, the car was moved, but not by the police. The next known sighting of the Rover was 6 weeks later. That's mid-August, parked here at Wimbush in Milton Keynes. But by now, the number plates are different. Nearby, 2 men were seen to enter the site where Marriott's are building a large electronics factory. And a third man, perhaps a lookout, was noticed outside the boundary fence. At 8:20 a.m., a Securicor van arrived to deliver wages. At about the same time, the site engineer became suspicious about those strangers.
Who's that chap in the red hat there, do you know?
No, I don't.
What about these 2?
I haven't seen those before, no.
Securicor had been making regular early morning wage deliveries to Marriott's for several months. They'd established something of a pattern, and the waiting strangers were obviously expecting the van to drive straight into the compound. Today, there was a change of plan, and the van pulled up outside.
Open it! Give it the keys or you're dead! Move! Get it open! Here's the keys, don't shoot! I think they're flanked, Jerry! Lads! Get them! It's a road! Let's get them! Bastard! Out! Let go!
Although he'd been shot, the foreman got up and went on with the chase and shouted to a lorry to ram the getaway car. The Rover turned down Pitfall Road, then went left into Carter Lane. The police aren't sure if there were 3 or 4 men in the car. It was here at the Kiln Farm Industrial Estate, at the back of Tesco's, where they abandoned the Rover. It's a mile away from the robbery.
Detective Superintendent John Chilsley is the man who's now after them. But first, tell us something about the extraordinary bravery of those building workers. Quite remarkable.
They're very brave men indeed, but their action was one I would not recommend, because those 2 workers who had tackled the gunman were very lucky not to be killed.
Indeed. There was, of course, the driver of the Securicor van who was shot, but we
indeed.
didn't show that.
That's right.
Now, the man who shot him was the one with the yellow hat on. What do we know about that man?
We've made up video fits of 2 men. The first one is the man, as you say, who shot the driver and the worker. He is about 30 years of age, 5'8" tall, slim build. As you see, he's wearing a yellow hat and glasses, and at the time he was wearing overalls.
OK, now let's try and take those glasses and that hat from him and see what happens. And there he is, about 30 years of age.
30 years of age.
Right, and you say you've got a second video.
The second one was the man who climbed into the cab of the vehicle and threatened the guard to hand over the keys and the cash. He's about 30 to 40 years of age, 5'10", again slim build, wearing glasses, but he was wearing a black leather jacket and dark trousers. And we believe that glasses were in fact a form of disguise.
And there he is, without the glasses. Does anyone recognise that man? The third and possibly fourth man you don't know, and you haven't got descriptions or good enough descriptions of them.
That's right.
What about the car, though? That's been all over the place, hasn't it? Starting in Tunbridge Wells.
The car started off being stolen in Tunbridge Wells on the 27th of June. It then was seen in Peckham on the 1st of July, and from there it next appeared in Milton Keynes on the 15th of August on the day of the robbery. We're obviously interested in the period between the 1st of July and the 15th of August, wanting to know where that vehicle was and did anybody see it.
And of course, sometime between those dates, the car numbers changed.
That's correct.
From A111NKN to B523PHA. There is a reward out on this, I gather.
There is a reward for anyone who recognises those photo fits and can give evidence that leads to a conviction. There's £5,000 reward.
John Childerley, thank you very much indeed. The number to call if you can help, 01811 8055. Remember that reward. You can speak in absolute confidence to a detective, or, as always, you can ask for a BBC researcher. Or you can call police in Milton Keynes direct. Here's their number, 0908 678 787. 0908 678 787.
Well, now to tonight's cases. For several months, police in London and Hertfordshire have been following a trail of attempted armed robberies. Early in the morning, several men brandishing guns burst into a company on Wages Day. They hold the staff hostage and then they try to ambush the security van when it arrives. We've reconstructed their most recent raid, where this time they did succeed and they got away with £90,000. But our film starts 4 months before that, with Crimewatch photographs based on police records of one of their earlier attempts. It happened in Hertfordshire, where the robbers gave notice of a sinister new weapon. Imperial Coal Stores was a depot for hops en route from Kent to breweries in the Midlands. It was due to close in 6 weeks' time, but in September there were still some 20 people employed there. Fred Jr., the gate man, arrived first and opened up the offices as usual. The other 5 people who worked with Fred in the office block would all be coming in during the next half hour or so. At 7:15 that morning, the only other person on the premises was Peter Bryant, a lorry driver who was still asleep in his cab. Friday was Wages Day.
Good morning, Fred. Morning, Zaz. All right. Yeah, okay. You got a visitor, Fred. How long all that?
Get down! And keep him quiet! Right, you come with me. Come on, get up! Oh, get in the bastard. Go in there. Now you stay there right behind you. Get down. Face the wall. Face it!
Where are you
car keys.
And the ignition.
You tell the truth. If you're pissing me about, I'll shoot you.
Stay there.
You ill or something?
Got a heart condition.
Christ, oh, make yourself a cup of tea. Who's due to arrive next?
The store manager.
What's the front? I want to know the routine when the security van gets here.
Outside in the yard, Peter Bryant was quite unaware that anything was wrong.
Get in there! Well, sit where you normally sit. What about barrier? Is it usually up or down?
Down. It just depends.
Well, don't touch it. Leave it up. And don't warn anybody. Here. Try one.
Don't forget, one of your mates died the other week. All right.
No, put your hands on the seat. Come on, spread your legs. All right. Do you know what this is? It's a remote control unit. And it works this. At the touch of a button, it goes off. What you're going to do is take your mate out some tea, get him out the cab, and if you let him know there's anything wrong, I'll press a button and blow your back out. Understand?
Till I pick something.
You know, when he been gambling, he backed one winner in all his life. You remember when...
You open this bloody door! Or I'll blow your bloody head off! I can't open it! Open the bloody door!
Come on!
Hurry up, come on! Fucking money on the back, throw it up! Get moving! Quick!
Right.
Go on, get it! Get him! Right, turn it off! Turn the bloody motor off! Ow! Get out, you bastard! Come here, you little bloody toe rag! Out of the car! Come here! Come on! Get it! Okay, that's the last one! Get in the car! Let's go! Come on! Get out of here! Come on!
Well, terrifying. Detective Sergeant Jeff Hunter's in charge of that investigation. Was the employee we saw there actually shot?
Well, fortunately he wasn't, no. As you've seen, the gun was placed against the side of his head and was discharged, and he was dead for several days after that incident.
And how is the gate man, Fred Julia?
Mr. Julia, unfortunately, hasn't recovered. He suffers from a serious heart complaint, and that was aggravated by this incident.
So it's obviously vital that these men are caught. Could we have descriptions of them?
Yes, there were 4 men, but we really only have good descriptions of 2 of them. The first was in his early 40s, about 5'9" to 5'10". He was slim-build, wearing a short black wig, and he had dark features. The second man was again in his early 40s, slightly shorter, about 5'7" to 5'8", had short, mousy-coloured hair, brushed across to cover a receding patch at the front.
And the first man with the black wig in particular seemed quite an unstable sort of character.
Yes, he was.
Now, that device which was strapped under the back of the security guard, could it in fact have killed him?
Well, we know that it was a viable device, and as far as we are aware, it could have caused substantial, if not fatal, injury to the man.
And quite unnecessary, really, to make the threat a viable one.
Completely unnecessary.
Now, you've brought the actual device in that they used. Where did that come from?
Well, we know that there is an outlet in the north of London, in the Enfield area. It's a wholesale outlet. We'd be interested to know of anybody that has recently acquired these transmitters or has come into possession of several of them in recent months.
That could be a vital clue. Now, you think that these same men have struck several times this year, unsuccessfully until now, so let's just recap on their previous attempts. Their first one was a bungled attack at Enfield Crematorium on the 25th of April. Then they tried again at the Cross and Herbert warehouse in Hoddesdon, Hertfordshire, and on the 3rd of May that was. Then their next attempt came on the 27th of June at Amtico in Ponders End. And finally it was on the 13th of September that they got away with the £90,000 at Tottenham. Now, how sure are you that all those attacks were linked?
Well, we are linking them because the methods are identical in each case. They're early morning attacks on premises which of themselves wouldn't be considered worthy of robbing. The descriptions of the men concerned are the same. The weapons used are the same.
And the premises are quite irrelevant, really?
Yes, the premises are irrelevant in that we feel that it was the security vehicle which at that time of the morning would be heavily loaded.
And do you believe, in fact, that these men are prepared to blow someone's back out, as they put it?
Well, there was an inordinate amount of violence used in this last attack. They've shown a willingness now to discharge firearms. And this device, completely unnecessary that it should be taken, it's a viable device, which could have caused, as I've said, serious, if not fatal injury.
Well, Mr Hunt, thank you. There's a £9,000 reward for information leading to the conviction of those men. The number to call, if you can help, is 01811 8055. You can speak in confidence to a detective, or as always, you can ask for a BBC researcher. Or you can call the Central Robbery Squad direct on 01230 2061. That's 01230 2061.